The cycle of experiment and experience has two loops. The inner loop that we've talked about focuses on how teachers conduct experiments, learn from their experience, and share with their colleagues, and then they plan new experiments. What I want to focus on here is the outer loop, where administrators can provide encouragement and resources like time and money to facilitate launching and sustaining innovation. I usually think of administrators as having 4 entry points into this cycle. The first is around research and development. What's the R&D budget in your school? How do you allocate time, resources, and energy to support teachers in trying new things? One resource that you can offer as an administrator is your enthusiasm and your protection. Whenever I start working with teachers in a new school district around innovation initiatives, I always ask the principal or the headmaster or the superintendent to come to the first training and offer a benediction of sorts. One part of the benediction offers encouragement for the new initiative, and the second part offers protection. It says, look, learning takes time, and not everything you try is going to work. But as students have questions, as parents have questions, you can count on me to have your back.
I think that one of the really critical things about administration and supporting teachers who want to be innovators is that they are encouraging their risk-taking and being sure that they're covering them when they fail. That whenever you do something innovative or you're trying to solve a problem, there is no chance that you're not going to do something that doesn't go well. And when that moment happens, it's critical that the administrator has the teacher's back. And they are explaining the type of work the teacher's engaged in and the value that work has to its students, even when it fails.
Administrators can also offer resources of time and money. Could you give teacher a 1-course release for a year or half a year to do some extra research and experimentation in a department? Can you pay teachers for their time over the summer to work together? One of the largest untapped resources for innovation in schools are our students. In many technology initiatives, schools have realized that they'll never have the budget to hire enough support staff to meet all of the tech support needs of their teachers. But there are lots of kids in schools who would love to help their teachers create better lessons and better classrooms using technology. So schools around the world are organizing these great student help desks where teachers can get not only technical support, but real instructional design support as well. The second entry point that I talk about is around team learning. And by team, I mean groups within a school, like a grade level or a content area, or however your school groups teachers. When teachers are experimenting, how do we maximize opportunities for teams to learn from one another? 2 particularly powerful practices here are looking at student work and getting in each other's classrooms with instructional rounds. So looking at student work involves closely examining the kinds of things that students are doing in classrooms, looking at their projects, looking at their tests, looking at their assessments, and asking questions about what kind of evidence can we find of student learning within that work. Teams often find it helpful to use specific protocols that help keep people focused on evidence of student thinking and understanding. The role of administrators here can be to help teams find time, to help teachers generate and formalize specific protocols that they can use, to encourage teachers and to provide support for this kind of learning. For classroom observation and instructional rounds, the idea is to let teachers get into each other's classrooms to see innovation happening throughout their school. This is another place where administrators can offer the resource of time by releasing teachers from routine duties like lunch monitoring or recess, or freeing them up for a period so they can see peers in other classrooms doing this work. I've worked with some assistant principals who say, if you want to visit another classroom, write up a sub-plan for me and I'll cover it for you. That's an incredibly powerful message for teachers.
One of the things I've tried as administrator to do is to figure out how do we ensure that at least some teachers have the ability to work with other teachers in the course of the ordinary day. So rather than saying, if you want to collaborate, just do it on your own time, especially in an environment like this one where we're expecting people more or less to work 24/7 is not going to be a good answer. And so instead what we've done is to say to a subset of teachers every year, of course there's a sabbatical program so teachers can go off campus, but we also have a program that allows teachers to stay on campus but to teach less or to do less of other things while they're experimenting, and then to encourage them to work together.
The third entry point in this cycle is facilitating institutional learning. We need to create time and space where teachers throughout the whole institution, whether that's the school or the district or however you define it, can share their experiences with one another. What's one way of creating informal learning spaces for teachers? Here in Boston, we have a school called the Lila G. Frederick Pilot School, which was founded by Deb Sosha, who's one of the leading advocates for technology access for students in poverty-impacted communities. Deb used to run this program called Bagels and Laptops, where every Wednesday she bought a bag of bagels and she found one teacher who was willing to be a kind of demonstrator of some project that he or she was working on. And then a whole bunch of other teachers would get together in the morning and they would eat some bagels and they would learn something from one of their colleagues.
We have staff meetings on a regular basis that I don't run. So staff meetings are called, we start off with a staff share. So if something's happening great in your classroom, I say, this is a really great idea. We have to share it with the staff. And we do. You come downstairs and you say, this is what I'm doing in my classroom. Shirley's making me share it. This is what worked. This is what I love. This is the things that make it a little harder. And we share it. Several teachers will try it out. And I think that kind of community that says the doors are open. You're not allowed to close the doors and you go into your little classroom and you do everything on your own. We don't have that.
The fourth entry point is ensuring that there's a shared vision and instructional language to guide experimentation. When there are some guardrails and some guidelines for innovation, that's a foundation for teachers to share, collaborate, and improve together. In our schools, we have this culture of radical teacher autonomy, where every teacher closes the door behind them and kind of does whatever they want. And in too many cases, innovation happens in classrooms, but that innovation doesn't spread to departments or grade level teams or whole schools. Effective school leaders ensure that innovation has a trajectory that's guided by a shared vision. Ideally, teachers have a sense that they're encouraged to innovate and experiment, but particularly encouraged to try to work on the shared goals of the school.
One of our most recent prize-winning schools, Burke High School, they spent time in discussion about what they wanted the Burke values to be, mission and goals, and invested in the time, including a retreat before the start of the school year that also included partners to say, what direction do we want to head in? And then once that vision is set, then I think the other role of the leader who wants to create an environment of shared leadership is to put in place the structures and systems so that others can participate in that.
Collaborative innovation also really benefits from a shared instructional language, a common way of describing what good teaching and learning looks like. There are lots of ideas and systems and theories and experts that can help shape this shared instructional language. Maybe your school is really inspired by teaching for understanding, or understanding by design, or universal design for learning. There are also plenty of schools and districts that kind of create their own shared ways of describing great teaching and learning. It's less important which instructional language schools choose, and more important that they choose a language. It's less important to pick one right system than it is to get one system right. So these four entry points, research and development, team learning, institutional learning, and a shared vision and language, are all ways that school leaders can help accelerate the cycle of experiment and experience.